It's Thursday, February 12th. In the headlines, the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Patrick Allen, outlines the government's legislative agenda at the ceremonial opening of Parliament. 7,000 Jamaica Public Service customers will have their power reinstated over the next 2 weeks. In business news, net international fund increases with IMF drawdown. And regionally, Prime Minister-elect Mia Mottley secures historic third clean sweep in the Barbados election. In sports, Reggae Boys under-17s qualify for FIFA World Cup after a 3-1 win over Canada. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Despite the economical and social challenges over the last fiscal year, the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Patrick Allen, remains optimistic. The Governor General noted the government's post-Hurricane Melissa programs while delivering the throne speech at the joint sitting of Parliament today, Thursday, February 12. He also outlined the government's legislative agenda for the upcoming parliamentary year. Here are a few excerpts from his speech at Gordon House.
In the past year, our nation was tested by Hurricane Melissa, one of the most destructive and disruptive climate events in our history. It tested our institutions, and communities, but it did not break our indomitable spirit. The government's plan for the year ahead go beyond not only reconstructing what was damaged by reimagining what is possible, but building modern infrastructure with greater climate resilience and institutions designed for speed, scale, and opportunity.
As of February 11, a total of 97.5% of JPS customers have electricity across Jamaica. President and Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Public Service, Hugh Grant, made the disclosure in his address at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House.
February 11th, 3.5 months after the passage of Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, 97.5% of JPS customers have electricity. Across Jamaica, what does that mean? That means that approximately 673,000 of our 690,000 customers now have power.
Mr. Grant also notes that crews from North America who have been in Jamaica to assist with power restoration efforts since late October 2025 will depart the island this weekend.
As the overseas crews leave the island this weekend, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks for their tireless efforts throughout the restoration process.
Meanwhile, Mr. Grant says an additional 7,000 Jamaica Public Service customers will have their power reinstated over the next 2 weeks.
Over the next 2 weeks, there'll be some more significant progress. Through the end of February, we expect to provide power to an additional 7,000 customers. This will reduce the number of customers without power to fewer than 10,000 by the end of February.
The government is assessing possible support for Jamaican students in Cuba whose studies have been disrupted by ongoing fuel shortages and electricity challenges. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, said several institutions have either temporarily closed or shifted to online delivery due to utility disruptions. One institution has suspended classes entirely, affecting 6 scholarship recipients. She says a diplomatic note has been dispatched to the foreign minister in Cuba.
Seeking assistance, or rather guidance, in ascertaining how best students could be facilitated in the circumstances, including whether transcripts will be made available by way of policy, whether transcripts will be made available to students who seek to continue their studies elsewhere, if this is occasioned by the disruptions in availability of classes.
Minister Johnson Smith says 300 Jamaicans are studying in Cuba. She says her team has taken action to keep in contact with them.
We've established a WhatsApp group with approximately 320 students for direct and ongoing contact. And this is important because generally, although we are always aware of the scholarship students who travel, the private students don't usually engage with the ministry. They don't necessarily register. So now we have a full registration, a full awareness of the student body that is present.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says consular services in Cuba continue, even as they ensure the welfare of the diplomatic staff. She also notes that international travel will become more difficult as jet fuel has become scarce in Cuba. On Sunday, Cuban officials warned airlines that jet fuel would not be available from February 10 to March 11. 50 sexual harassment complaints have so far been referred to Jamaica's Sexual Harassment Tribunal, with most cases originating in the public sector. Principal Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Sharon Coburn-Robinson, says more than 60% of the matters have already been addressed, as the tribunal moves to treat each complaint with priority.
The Sexual Harassment Tribunal, established under the Sexual Harassment Protection and Prevention Act, is now actively hearing complaints and making awards where necessary. Principal Director in the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Sharon Coburn-Robinson, says the caseloads reflects growing awareness and reporting.
So of the cases that we've had so far, most of them have come from within the public sector and some are from the private sector. And the information I saw was that about 60-something%, over 60% of the cases that came have been dealt with, and some are still being addressed at this point. We have our tribunal meeting as often as possible, and those cases would, of course, get priority based on where it is that based on how it is that the information is presented.
She explains that not all complaints go directly to the tribunal. Many are first handled internally through human resource departments.
Of the 50 cases that have come to the tribunal, because some of the cases have not come to the tribunal because they are being dealt with at the divisional level, meaning they might have called in to say there is a case, but because we want to ensure that at the HR level it is dealt with first, because the legislation speaks to ensuring that the HR, once the case has come forward, a complaint has been made, then the HR practitioner, whoever it is that has the focal point responsibilities, has that responsibility to inform the person to who has committed the offense or to whom the case has been brought or the complaint has been registered, to inform that person within 48 hours, and then to ensure that the persons who are a part of that, whether it is just one person who has been aggrieved or it is other persons who have been aggrieved, to call them together to have a hearing or to have a conversation, a discussion, and where possible to have some resolution done at that level.
However, complainants can bypass that step under certain circumstances.
But in the event that there is no HR, or there might be other matters in terms of perhaps the person feels as if it's taking too long, or there is something that causes the person who is the complainant to feel as if it's not going to be in his or her favor, then that person can bring the case straight to the tribunal.
She says the body is moving swiftly to treat all matters seriously under a zero-tolerance policy.
The idea is that all of the cases are going to be treated with the utmost priority because there is a zero-tolerance approach to any form of harassment that is done to any person. And based on how the outline is given in the definition, once somebody complains of harassment, then the tribunal has a responsibility to ensure that it is treated with in a swift manner and as swift as possible.
Members of the Sexual Harassment Tribunal were sworn in on July 17, 2025, and officials say hearings are being convened as often as necessary to hear the caseload. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Denida Rodney.
Member of Parliament for Northwest St. Catherine, the People's National Party's Damian Crawford, is no longer in the Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC. Mr. Crawford is being replaced by his colleague on the opposition benches, Dr. Alfred Dawes, the Member of Parliament for South East St. Catherine. Leader of Government Business, Floyd Green, tabled the motion in Parliament this week. Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the developments shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. Jamaica's net international reserves, NIR, climbed to US $6.7 billion at the end of January, up from $6.3 billion in December. This follows a US $450 million drawdown from the International Monetary Fund's rapid financing instrument. The additional funds are intended to help cushion balance of payments pressures arising from Hurricane Melissa. The government is expected to face higher import bills for reconstruction, supplies, and essential goods at a time when key foreign exchange earning sectors, including tourism and exports, remain under strain. BPO leader Yoni Epstein, chairman of ITEL, has claimed that what he characterized as the Bank of Jamaica's decision to allow the dollar to artificially appreciate against the US dollar is having a negative impact on the earnings of the business and knowledge process outsourcing sector. He contends to RJR News that this is dangerous because 80 to 85% of the sector's earnings remain in Jamaica, although it is denominated by international companies. In support of this argument, Epstein highlighted the fact that 60% of the sector's cost is related to salaries, while 20 to 25% is attributable to rental and utility charges. Epstein noted that the growth of the industry is being slowed by the deterioration in the U.S. economy, particularly in relation to the creation of new jobs and future economic growth. He stressed, however, that approximately 50,000 workers are still employed in Jamaica in the industry despite the negative economic impact. For the trading period of February 11, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 5,491,945 units, representing 24.56% of market sales activities. Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing Company Limited with 4,307,499 units, representing 19.26% of market sales activities. Kintyre Holdings Jamaica Limited with 2,167,110 units, representing 9.96% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in transportation, construction, and advertising plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for February 11, 2026. Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity with the US selling at $157.15 and buying at $155.46. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by 49-cent transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.33 and was bought for $114.84. The British pound continued volatility in short-term trading with opportunities of $2.01 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold $214.12 and was bought for $212.11. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, meetings with bankers are often strained because professionals lead with vision and capability, while bankers lead with credit history and risk control. When credit signals are weak or unclear, bankers limit the discussion before the idea is fully explored, which professionals interpret as rejection. In reality, the conversation breaks down because the banker is assessing predictability, not potential, and without acceptable credit signals, the meeting cannot move beyond risk screening into opportunity evaluation. For our funded and focused feature, your business has to step up and operate at a higher level when you seek funding from a government contract. Why? Because winning a contract introduces reporting obligations. A business must produce progress updates, financial reports, and compliance documentation, which are mandatory. It is important that businesses meet reporting standards and avoid penalties or contract termination. As an example, our client Trevon, who operates a solar equipment installation business, experienced misreports that nearly triggered penalties. However, with professional systems, reporting became routine and not stressful. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital, markets, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, Prime Minister-elect Mia Mottley has secured another historic victory, leading the Barbados Labour Party to a clean sweep in the country's general election, capturing all 30 seats in Parliament for a third time on Wednesday. Mottley becomes the second Caribbean leader to achieve the feat on 3 occasions, following former Grenada Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. She also remains the first Barbadian leader to win 3 consecutive terms after earlier whitewash victories in 2018 and 2022. In a post on its Facebook page, the BLP thanked voters for their confidence and called for national unity. Addressing supporters after the landslide result, Ms. Mottley said the victory comes with responsibility, not entitlement.
We did not come simply to hold office. We have come to make Barbados better and to make your lives better.
She stresses the importance of safeguarding democratic institutions despite repeated overwhelming mandates, while celebrating the success of all BLP candidates over the main challenger, the Democratic Labour Party.
We now know in Barbados more than ever the importance of strong political institutions. And let this Labour Party never take it for granted. But I also recognize that even as we have won tonight as convincingly, we do not turn our eyes away from the concerns of our constituents, constituency by constituency.
She also pledged renewed focus on issues raised on the campaign trail.
We do not turn our eyes away from the things that ordinary Bajans want us to redouble our efforts on and to refocus. And whether it is traffic or roads, or the state of our healthcare, or indeed the issue of public safety, I give you this assurance tonight at 111 Roebuck Street that this team that I have the utmost honor to lead will be required to be able to make progress on all of these areas.
Prime Minister Motley signaled a swift return to governance following brief victory celebrations, as her party's clean sweep extended the opposition Democratic Labour Party's losing streak, with leader Ralph Thorne defeated in St. John. The historic polls were also monitored by regional and Commonwealth observer teams for the first time. The Donald Trump administration has intensified its blockade of Cuba, warning of tariffs on countries supplying oil to the island. The resulting fuel crisis has shuttered universities, disrupted hospital services, grounded flights, and driven up transport and black market fuel costs, with experts warning civilians are bearing the brunt. Al Jazeera's Ed Augustine reports from Havana, Cuba.
Cars are still on the road, shops remain open, and people are going about their daily business in Havana. But scratch the surface, and Cuba is under new strain since the Trump administration announced it would impose tariffs on any country that ships fuel to the island nation. The black market price of petrol has more than doubled. Transport costs have spiked. University classes cancelled. Students have been told to study from home. Student Ruben Guerra worries whether he'll even be able to graduate, but he says that's no longer his main concern.
I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen, whether we might be invaded, whether the national power grid could collapse, and what will become of life here.
Public healthcare has been hit too. Vital and emergency surgeries are ongoing, but elective surgeries have been postponed. This is the National Institute of Gastroenterology. Last week it was running. Now, for lack of fuel, it's been shuttered. Dr. Pablo Gaviria says that already fewer ambulances are going out, and he's being forced to make even harder decisions about who receives surgery.
The ones who are going to suffer are the people. The weakest, most vulnerable will bear the brunt of this blockade. And these are the same people who the US says they want to save, yet they are being deprived of healthcare, deprived of electricity, deprived of transportation to get to work, because everything depends on fuel.
Despite the fear, the streets are calm. There's a genuine resilience here. Hardship is nothing new to Cubans. Still, there's a widespread feeling that this is the worst crisis in the island's recent history.
I've asked myself whether, if things get really difficult and I have the chance to leave the country, I would do it. I don't like the idea at all. I love my country, my culture, the people, everything, but I don't see any other solution.
Experts in international humanitarian law say the US's economic war on Cuba amounts to collective punishment of the civilian population. And under what amounts to an oil blockade, Cubans are feeling the strain more than ever. Ed Augustine, Havana, Al Jazeera.
In St. Lucia, tourism officials are moving to reassure the industry after the U.S. Embassy in Bridgetown prohibited American government personnel from staying at a prominent Soufrière resort, sparked by a security alert that has prompted high-level talks to fortify the district's safety protocols.
The U.S. Embassy in Bridgetown issued a security alert prohibiting U.S. government personnel from staying at the Ladera Resort in Soufrière.
The SLTA will issue the statement sometime today. Basically, the statement would speak to the fact that there were incidents in November in that general area. The police did respond and formulated a plan, and the police has the situation under control in terms of the persons responsible for it. Since then, in November, there have been no incidents in that area.
Tourism and law enforcement officials held emergency talks on Friday to overhaul security measures in Soufrière following the targeted warning from the United States government.
There is a comprehensive security plan in place for Soufrière and all the resorts in that area. And like I said, we've had no other incidents.
At the high-level meeting prompted by a recent U.S. Embassy alert that prohibits American government employees from staying at the Ladera Resort, citing concerns over crime and emergency response capabilities, Tourism Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire addressed the stakeholders, stating that national security is a collective responsibility and must involve community cooperation alongside police efforts.
As to what may have prompted the U.S. Embassy in Barbados to issue a statement against that specific resort is probably a story that is best explained by the U.S. Embassy. That's all I can say.
According to officials, the proposed safety plan includes rigorous new security audits for all tourism properties and specialized training for private security officers across the district. Additionally, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force plans to integrate more advanced technology and increase officer deployment to better protect the island's most iconic tourism zone. Beyond traditional policing, officials are launching youth outreach programs in music and sports to address the root causes of crime through community engagement.
We headline our sports report with football. Jamaica's under-17 Reggae Boys are in high spirits after qualifying for the FIFA Under-17 World Cup with a 3-1 victory over Canada in Costa Rica on Wednesday. The young Reggae Boys are now Jamaica's first national team to secure 3 World Cup qualifications. Despite playing on the defensive for most of the game, the young Jamaicans were ruthless in attack, taking the lead through captain Jameer Nolan in the 37th minute before Jamon Lyle added a second early in the second period. Canada scored a goal in the 72nd minute through a Von Parker penalty. However, Reggae boy Jaheim Bennett eventually sealed the win and secured Jamaica's spot in Qatar in November. It's the first qualification to any FIFA World Cup on the men's side in 15 years. The draw for the tournament is expected to take place in May. Over now to cricket. West Indies registered their second victory at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, beating England by 30 runs on Wednesday at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai, India. West Indies captain Shai Hope says the team got things right with the bat for a positive result. The West Indies are on top of Group C with 4 points from 2 matches and can secure their spot in the Super 8 phase with victory over Nepal on Sunday. That's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.